Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics round review. We're recording live on Sunday, the 25th of May, after completion of round 11. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And none of my co-hosts are joining me because they're all busy doing better things than chatting fantasy. So got a special guest on, and it's, I believe, the first... we've got Freeman a while. I've tried to ask him a few times, and unfortunately, he's been busy. So we finally got a week to get him on. It is a good friend DC from HatChat. DC, mate, how are you? How was the weekend?
G'day, Bales. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, mate. The weekend was very good, probably up until a few frustrations today, and ended up sliding again, which was annoying considering how the round started, and nailed the trades this week. So you feel as though you should move up every time you nail trades, but it's not quite how fantasy works.
Yeah, exactly. What did you do? What did you end up doing with your trades this week? So I know if you, as you said, they nailed them and a couple of big scores for you.
Yeah, so JHF and McRae out like a lot of people, and brought in Merritt for his 149, which was awesome to start the round. And then Sinclair rounded off pretty well in the end tonight after a bit of a slow start, but got there in the end, which was good. But a few other guys that the incumbents already in the team let me down today, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, it was certainly a round full of surprises. There was some carnage along the way. There was some massive scores. So we're going to dissect all of that because this is our final week of Best 22. And as someone that has had shit players on my field for a long time, thank God the Best 18 is here. I didn't think I'd look forward to the mid-season buys, but here we are. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, well, before we get stuck in, obviously, we'll go through our ranks and everything like that. So DC, what did you score this week, mate? What did your round rank and your overall rank sitting at?
Yeah, so scored the 23-26, which, was probably about 100 less than I was hoping at least. Round rank of 7,326 and dropped, I think, about 170 spots again back to 1,190th. So was hoping to crack back inside the top 1,000, but we've gone the other way, unfortunately. But it was a hugely high-scoring round, so those couple of dud scores really do cost you when everyone else is dropping massive ones.
Exactly. I think this is a round where I can see like 400 or 500 points between some coaches, depending on if they've got a Nick Martin or a Merritt, or if they had a few sort of really poor scores, which we'll get into. So very, very high variance week. I end up scoring the 2304. So round rank of 9720. That put me up about 2,000 spots up to 11,699. So I thought with the Nick Martin VC, I thought, here we go. Might have a 4-digit rank again. Not to be. Thanks, Max Gawn, who I do like, but not so much this year. Not owning him, he was the big reason today why I didn't quite rise up as much as what I wanted. Plus and minus 3 DC. Who are you giving that to this week?
Yeah, I might give the -3 to just coaches. Just coaches getting a bit too smart, I think. So Friday night we saw Trainer getting flicked forward, where did that come from? Today, Bowie getting tagged, even though that Sydney lost by 60-odd points or whatever it was in the end. What was the point of that? So just stuff like that. I mean, Sheasel's the other one as well, right? Like playing almost purely forward. So he's had the role change to play off halfback for 2 weeks, and now we're switching it back again for what reason? So that sort of stuff really annoys me, sitting watching the games, because you can see that the impact of those players is being lessened by flicking them around, and I can't help their development because they're all reasonably young players as well. So so I think I'll throw it that way, and then the +3, probably Merritt on debut. I had the Martin VC as well, and then shout out to Ned Long, who's been a great pick, but that was his first big ton, and it was a beauty. So that was great to see.
Yeah, he was very good. A few people starting to get worried with that break even that was creeping up, but that was a very, very good performance. Plus and minus 3 for me. I'll give my +3. I'm going to give it to obviously my trade in, right? But I've got to shout out my boy Jordan Dawson for 139. I got to see that live again. He's just so good. I really, really hope he's up there in the Brownlow because he's playing some amazing footy and another massive score there. But I've got to give my +3 to Nick Martin on debut with the 166 as the VC. That was certainly very enjoyable for anyone that was tuning on the watch along on Friday night. I was thinking this is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to go the Jordan Dawson against Freo, where he doesn't get much and he just scores a low ton, or he could absolutely go massive. And by golly, did he go absolutely massive. 69-point last quarter to get a 166. And very happy to have taken that as a VC, put the feet up and relax for the remainder of the week. -3. A couple of lower scores here. Who am I going to give it to? Tricky ones. A couple of low ones. I don't really want to give it really to a rookie. I'll go Ryan Marrick, 51. 51 against the Crows. Been pretty good for designated kickers. Just didn't really get amongst it as much. Still had 20 touches, but not a lot of marks. And gave away 3 free kicks as well. A few of them were a little bit silly as well. So, unfortunate for him, low score. But he's been pretty good. But he gets a -3 for me this week. Just a quick update with the Content Creators Cup. A few results here, but I thought we'd start off with bloody Holmesy. 2,530 with a 40 rand rank. Absolutely massive performance. So shout out to Holmesy on his birthday as well. So congrats to him for a massive week. The only coach to crack the 2,500 marker this week. We had a lot of coaches go over 2,400. Nathan had a big week. So looking forward to hearing that DC on the HatChat pod during the week there. Jep also had a massive score with the Cooper Simpson donut on the field.
Yeah, beat me with a donut. So it's making me feel real good about things.
Yeah. And then DT11 with the 2,400 there as well. I was just about to say, obviously, how did you end up going? And Jeff had a massive week, 24-31 to 23-26 to DC. I went down to MJ by 50 points. Disappointing. He had both Riley Hardiman and Sam Davidson on the bench. Absolutely kissed MJ. No, congrats, mate. GG's. Very, very good performance. You're smashing it this year. And Gorn certainly made note of the close matchup and said, don't worry, MJ, I got you. So unfortunately, another loss for me. Not too great there. The other Fantasy Fanatics. So Jaiden got a 4-point win over Mitch, 23-29 to 23-25. So really good job from Jaiden there. Also had Guesty getting the job done by 20 points over Hef, 22-88 to 22-68. We'll hear about one reason why Guesty scored on 2,200. There was a slight mistake that he made on the Friday night, which I'm sure we'll hear about on the Tuesday. And what have we got? Jordox. Where's Jordox here? 22-25, 55, sorry, beat Freo 21-04. Freo, unfortunately, had a tough week this week there. And then Jordy also scored over 2,400 as well. Obviously, he's not in the Content Creators Cup this year, but I'm sure he will be next year. So some good scores in the Content Creators Cup. Let's get into the games. Plenty to recap. So we'll start off on Thursday night, which was a very, very good game, this one. I feel like the footy of old. Both teams going over 110 points. Geelong winning by 14 points there. And Bailey Smith with apparently 4 injections, 126. He just continues to dominate, averaging 120 on the year. He absolutely killed it there. Max Holmes with a 117 as well. He was also very, very good here. Kennedy, 111, just keeps getting it done for us in the forward line. So he is going to be someone that we're going to be looking at post his bye. But DC, I want to talk to you about Bont. So Bont, 102, got the blitz subs tag, I think, for the last quarter and a bit, I think. I think he was on like 91 probably midway through the third quarter and got clamped. But he's obviously on bye this week. Is he someone, he's expensive, but is he one of those top guys you're looking at post his round 12 buy, or is it expensive, trying to maybe save cash because of the lack of cash gen? Where do you sit with Bont post his buy?
Yeah, I'm not sure it'd be necessarily the number one guy I'll target coming off round 12, but certainly worthy of consideration. We know he's just an absolute gun. The Dogs are going well. I can't see him sort of averaging much less than 105 on the season. So he's going to be around about the mark of a top 8. But I think you're probably paying a fair price for him rather than a great price. So there's a few other guys I'll be looking at. Maybe Zach Butters is going to have dropped a fair bit of cash coming off the same buy in a few weeks' time. If you wanted a premium mid, he might be one that you could get a little cheaper.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, he's definitely one I'm keeping on, along with the Bont. We also had an English 95 there as well. Gave away 2 free kicks in the space of like 10 seconds and then had a really bad last quarter that sort of really held him back from going pretty well. But 95 is okay. He had 48 hit-outs as well, so plenty of hit-outs in this game. Davidson, 94, for any of those coaches that would use him as cover for a McRae or a Horn Francis. You definitely would have been taking that 94. Very good score there. Now, we have to talk about, I should say my guy, because he ruined my season. Tom Stewart, 92. He looked the best he has all year, DC. I'm a sucker for punishment. What can I say? Is he an option? He's what, he's going to be 7, 10, around there, around 16 by. We'll talk about Mills, but he may have a little bit of a holiday after coming back and didn't score too great either. Is Tom Stewart a potential underpriced option as a buy play?
If you're very, very brave and you're very, very strapped for cash, maybe. I don't think I can do it. I think we've seen the best of Tom Stewart as a probably a footballer now. He's what, 32, 33. And I think his days of being a 95 averaging defender, I think, are behind him. When we saw him last year, his best games were by far as a midfielder, averaged I think about 105 as a midfielder, averaged low 80s as a defender. So I think that's probably more what I would expect from him going forward if he stays fit. And we know that Geelong are likely to rest players, and he's one of those guys I'll consider resting at times. So he's probably not the pick I would go for, even though he's a little bit of value. But we're seeing with how well completed a lot of teams are now as well. We really want to be bringing in players who we think can sort of hit tons most weeks, and I'm not sure that's going to be Stewart. I think he's might give you a bit of value, but he's probably more going to be that 80, 90 guy, I think, for a lot of the year now.
Yeah. Maybe I just need to do it for the content. Maybe I need to do that because, he ruined my season, but he might even be able to come back. He might redeem himself, or he might even sink me even lower. So we'll see if I look at him as a potential option. Few low scores here. So Riley Sanders, 65. He can definitely go on his buy. Bailey Dale, 64. Didn't really see getting much attention, but he still didn't put up a good score, certainly a long way off what he did last week. But obviously you're holding him, I think, through his bye. Blitzars, Fremont's looking at him. Stanley back in, so that's you're not looking at that anymore, unfortunately. Fraser, 59, he can go as well on his bye there. That was pretty much it from that game. So we will move on to, I actually didn't mention Brian Myers as well. He went 106 and was a really good score for those that went and jumped onto him if you were able to get there this week. Moving over to the Friday night game with Essendon defending Richmond by 23 points. And obviously we'll start at the top DC. Nick Martin, 166. Zach Merritt, 149. Even Jai Caldwell, one of your boys, 120. He was pretty good. They've obviously got a trickier couple of weeks. Then they've got Brisbane, then Carlton. And obviously Merritt's going to be about the same price. Obviously pretty much got his break even. And Nick Martin is going to be probably closing in on 1.1 just with the massive score there. And then Caldwell's pretty cheap. Round 16 buy any of these guys. So if you don't have them, is Martin too expensive? Can you jump on Merritt? And is Caldwell maybe a bit of an underpriced guy you could even look at?
Yeah, so Caldwell's break even was still 150, so he still would have dropped a little bit. His time on ground was up, his CBAs were up. It seemed to affect Setterfield a little bit. So yeah, I think he's getting close to becoming a target. Maybe not quite at the top of the list of midfield upgrades you could look at, but certainly in the conversation. Merritt, I don't know whether he's going to get that much cheaper now. He looked at his brilliant best, particularly in that last quarter, just absolute fantasy piggery in the last quarter along with Nick Martin. So, yeah, we know he can hit a ceiling on his day, and if you can nail the timing that you bring him in and he can go on a bit of a run like we know he can, then he could be a really nice unique to push you up the rankings. So, yeah, I think they're both options. I think there's quite a few other guys that are a little bit underpriced that should be in the conversations as well. So just probably depends a little bit on your buy structures, what sort of price you want to pay as well.
Yeah. As someone that traded in there, I was going to ask you this as well, because I look at the run coming up in terms of like it's not too bad for the remainder of the year, but there are a lot of games where there's like a Geelong have got like a Mullen that would probably go to a Merritt or maybe a Wagner for Freo. Is that any sort of concern for anyone that sort of obviously brought him in? Did you? So I don't know if you looked at that at all and if that's a slight flag, or you still think Merritt can still get it done regardless? I know he's still got Richmond as well. He's got Gold Coast a couple of times, so a couple of good matchups.
Yeah, I think his run tags aside is pretty good up until about round 19, round 20 from memory. They played Richmond twice. It was obviously the first one of them. In terms of the tags, yeah, he probably will get Mullen, maybe a Wagner. But this is a guy that's been tagged for the last 10 years. So if anyone's worked out how to get through tags, it's probably going to be him. I think the biggest problem the week prior was just that Essendon got absolutely belted. And unfortunately, he got a fair bit of the ball, but probably he still got 20 odd disposals. I think got a bit of the ball, but didn't really hit the fantasy stat sheet anywhere else. So I'm putting that one down as an anomaly, and I think he's probably going to be close to that top 8 mark again as well. So I just thought he was as good an option as any, given the run of games coming up, the good matchup this week. Yes, he's going to be a tag target, but so are so many other midfielders.
Yeah, exactly. Very good point. And definitely after we know Merritt actually has one of those stinkers a year, like he has a 60 or whatever, but then he normally responds and goes well. And obviously this week was no different. So Zach Merritt keeps on keeping on for sure. Taranto 101, he was a solid score. Angus Clark, probably not really much we can add other than you need to get him this week. He's going to have such low break even, ran 16 by. Looked great. He's not going to get dropped. Probably going to get the Rising Star as well this week. He was fantastic. And defender, rookie. So he'll be about, say, 290. He was fantastic. So probably not going to expect those scores every week. It's against Richmond. And he played very well. But if he can go along and get some cash in for us, that would be very, very handy. But Kane McCall of DC, 94. Looked pretty good as well. Pretty well-rounded game. 21 touches, 6 marks, 6 tackles. This, obviously, with the lack of rookies besides, obviously, Angus Clark, is he someone maybe getting a bit creative, he'll be about roughly, 480, 500K, somewhere around there. Is he someone of potential interest for you?
Probably not. I think particularly coming to best 18, I think I'd be trying to look for premiums and then a few rookies to get you through that might be able to pop your scores like a Clark did this week, rather than sort of fiddling around too much in those sort of 500K areas for a guy that's never really done it before either. Has been in and out of the side a little bit. So, if you went there this week, well done, good score. And maybe it's a punt you could take during the buys, but I just think there's a decent chance he's probably dropping off your scores quite a few weeks anyway. So you may as well save a bit of cash and go the rookie, get the cash in that way, and then get a bigger premium upgrade with the other trades.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of options that are pretty cheap, which we'll chat about that are there. So, I probably agree. Probably save the cash and go for something else. One of the unfortunate ones from the weekend, a couple of rookies went down, and Zach Reed was one of those. So, absolutely dominating the game on 67 about midway through the third quarter, and didn't seem for ages. I didn't know what was going on. Then it was a report that he hamstring tightness, but then it's come back that he's actually going to be out for about 3 to 4 weeks. So that'll put him out until his bye. He's been arguably the best cash cow for us this year, or for a lot of people, except people that trade him, like nuffies like me on Anzac Day, and then him going absolutely nuts. But he's been fantastic. Sucks for him. Had a lot of injuries, but 67, he'll be a trade, unfortunately, there. Campbell Gray, 54. He's probably just there while Bolter isn't there, so I don't know if I'd be going towards him. And then, Luke Trainer, 21, obviously played forward. He's got to go. Giants and Sydney next 2 weeks. Not great matchup, so he can definitely go. And, Lawler was another one of these rookies that went down, 21, hamstring injury. Wasn't scoring well before that, but, unfortunately went down with a hamstring injury just before the end of the game, so he will be a trade as well. Moving over to the Saturday game, so Carlton and GWS, and Giants getting the job done by 28 points here. And Toby Green, looking back to vintage Toby Green there, 133 points, had some CBAs there as well, was behind O'Halloran, Toby Green, and Bedford for CBAs. DC's Richmond this week could get a bit of a sugar hit there, and he's pretty cheap. Is this someone that you might contemplate? Again, a little bit sort of similar to like a Tom Stewart, right? About the same price, but obviously different position, but could be a buy play with the round 16 buys. He's someone you could take a punt on.
Yeah, I definitely prefer him over Stewart. I think if you're strapped for cash a little bit, maybe you've got a few red dots that you want to flick on and still get to a premium upgrade. I think he's the sort of guy you could look at. Great matchup this week, as you said. Has had a few CBAs the last few weeks in a row, but seemingly followed the ball around a little bit more in that game. Still kicked the 3 goals, 3. But 28 touches, I think, is well up on what he usually produces. So, if you're willing to take a punt, I think you could do a lot worse for sure.
Yeah. The only flag I would say with Toby Green is I don't mind him as an option, but his first quarter had 52 points, last quarter had 53. So 105 of his 133 came in 2 quarters. So he's very quiet for the other 2. But we know Toby Green can do that if he's getting that midfield run. It could have been bigger, 3 goals, 3 there as well. Now, DC, the one that bemused me this week, Lachie Whitfield went forward, apparently.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
the coaches' comment, right? Like, they're getting too clever for themselves sometimes, I think.
Yeah, so Lachie Ash was the obviously main beneficiary, had 8 kick-ins, and I saw a stat somewhere that this was the first time in I don't even know how long that Lachie Whitfield hadn't had a kick-in. What does this do for, obviously, I think even myself, I was thinking, could you go a Whitfield this week? I was thinking on Friday night after Nick Martin just did, I thought, oh, Giants got Richmond this week. Could you go Whitfield with the round 16 buy, pay up and bring him in? But with that, he's dropping cash, probably can't go there. But is Lachie Ash maybe someone that, obviously, if this is going to continue, Lachie Ash is going to be the main beneficiary. Could you jump on, or do you think he's too expensive and you could just see this flipping back next week and Whitfield going back into defence?
I mean, Lachie Ash has been one of the picks of the season, really. So, but that's probably the reason if you're chasing the pack and you don't have him, you're really just matching those above you who are there, probably because they've nailed picks like that. But that said, the way he's going, he's probably going to be a top 6 defender. I'd be questioning whether Whitfield stays in that role, though. I think, again, his impact was probably limited compared to what he can produce running off halfback. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if that sticks long term. But Ash, regardless of where Whitfield's playing, has been a good option. So I think you can definitely go there, but I'd be waiting on Whitfield now to hopefully drop a little bit of cash before you look to bring him in. Yep.
Yeah, agreed. I'd be risked if I didn't ask you about one of your boys that you brought in early in the year. Unfortunately, that went out. But Sam Doherty, 112, looked good and was back at half back. I didn't see much this game, but what people were saying was back at half back. Got the bye this week anyway, so we get to see. But I know Carlton have got a fair few players coming back in round 13, so there's going to be a lot of ins there. Doherty, any interest mid 700s if he's in the team post the bye, or do you think a guy like him just sort of in and out, and they've shown the ability to drop him or even be sub? Is it just maybe just a pass?
Yeah, I think, I obviously misjudged. I thought he was going to be producing this, as the experienced player in the team when I brought him in, sort of, I think it was gather round, so round 5 or whatever that was, round 4. But yeah, I mean, this is his first game back for a little while. I think the last time he was in the team, he dropped a 50 or something. So he's going to be a bit up and down. His role's going to be a bit all over the place depending on what they need. I'd be surprised if he's at Carlton next year, whether he either retires or goes to another club. So yeah, I'm probably a no on him. I think it's just a bit too risky.
Yeah, I would agree with that one as well. Adam Chera, 108, just continues to get it done. I'm still kicking myself for starting bloody Ollie Hollands over him at the beginning of the year, but Chera's absolutely killing it for owners. And I guess quickly, GC on Chera, hold if you've got him, trade if you sort of, where are you going with there? Or trade or spade, I probably should say, to hopefully that pleases Nathan.
No, I think you've got to hold him for sure. Like, he's not that far off the top 10 mids at the moment. So a couple of lower scores there a few weeks ago, but he's gone ton the last 2 weeks, I think. So yeah, brilliant pick again. Him and Ash in this game are probably the 2 picks that I wish I'd started the season with the most, just because they were both immense value and they both sort of pushed the top players in their line. So I know they're both incredibly highly owned in the top 100, top 1,000, and if you've got them, might be holding on until they really force your hand.
Yep. Xavier O'Halloran, a few people mentioned to me as well in watch long and that, saying how he's good and scored 93. I don't think I could trust that. Little bit like Kay McCall, if we haven't seen it before from him, and you could just save cash with rookies. So I would be passing on that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sam Walsh, I just really don't know what's going on with that. He had 2 great weeks, and then he's just been an 80s guy outside of that. So he's going to be cheap, and he's got the bye this week, but just not racking up those numbers. It's funny that he had 26 disposals and scored 85, and a man we'll speak about later on, but Jordan Dawson had 27 touches and scored about 54 points more. So just shows obviously the sort of distance between some of these players this year that just don't rack up those marks and tackles. So I don't know about you, D, so I don't know if I could even jump in regardless of how cheap he is until we see something from him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's probably helping Chera, to be honest. He seems to be picking up more marks, more tackles than Walsh most weeks. So seems to be a slight shift in role there.
Yeah. Even Tom Green, 85, same score, a little bit in the same mould as well. Again, with Callaghan and Keneally not being there as well, it's obviously not great for Tom Green. He's got to do all the heavy lifting himself, but he's probably the same that doesn't rack up those marks and tackles besides that big score. He's been a little bit underwhelming last few weeks there. Hopefully he can turn it around. We mentioned Whitfield before with an 80, TDK with a 74, so if you had to hold him, not a great score with him being back. And much else here from this game. Fonte 38, Carroll 37, couple of rookies that dropped low scores. I've got Matt Carroll, and he'll be gone for me this week because he probably won't be there post their round 12 bye. Moving over to the Hawthorn and Brisbane game, 33-point winners to Brisbane. Very good performance by them. Dane Zorko dominated again, 127 without Kitty Coleman being there. I think he's still a good option to look at. Lockie Neal also scored a 120. He's been a little bit up and down, but good score from him. Carl Amon, 105 as well. He was also very good. Josh Dunkley, 93. He saved that. He was on about 56 or something at three-quarter time, but still Dunkley just getting it done with a 93 there. Could you jump on him, DC? He's dropped a little bit in cash. I think they've got
you could do.
This week, so decent matchup.
He's down a little bit in cash, but not a massive amount. I think there's probably a few other guys that are a bit more value that I'd maybe look to at the moment.
Yeah. Levi Ashcroft just keeps getting it done, 89 points, and I thought that his teammates did him dirty, and he probably could have had a few more plus sixes particularly in that last quarter, but 89, just absolutely getting it done. I think it's 4 or 5 weeks in a row now of 80 plus from him. So yeah, he's going to be a definite hold until his round 16 bye. Will Ashcroft, a bit quieter with the 78. No tackles there was the big reason for that. Dylan Moore, 68. Just can't go there, unfortunately. He's just not getting it done, and sort of bemused as to what's really going on with him. Sicily as well, 53. Poor score from him there. But Kyle Lohmann, DC, 58. He's dirt cheap. He's very, very cheap, obviously, with all these subs and not getting a good run at it, but he's obviously got that round 16 buy as well. So I'm just getting his price up because Lockout has lifted while we're recording. So 351. Any interest potentially from him, bringing him in? I guess with the lack of forward rookies, is this a way maybe to cash out on a Connor Stone or a Caden Cleary or someone like that? Is he someone that's potentially on your watch list?
Yeah, it could be. I think it was Will Hayes got a game for Collingwood. It's a mid-forward rookie, I think, so he'd be significantly cheaper, but we know that Lohmann's locked in that best 22, which is probably the advantage, but certainly hasn't had the season he would have liked, both from an injury point of view, but in performance-wise, I don't think he's kicked a goal yet this year. So,
no, yeah.
So has really fallen off after a fantastic year last year. You could do it. You could do it. Yeah.
Oh, we're back. No, hang on. Internet just dropped out for a second, but all good. We are back. Also, we're just getting some word through here. DPPs have also dropped also. We'll touch on those very quickly at the very end once we've got through all the games. But that's pretty much it from that game. Just a couple of players to mention there. So we'll move on to North Melbourne and Collingwood, with Collingwood getting the job done by 45 points. And Ned Long, you mentioned DC, 132 points, 14 tackles. Few outs obviously did really help with that, and his time on ground was up here. I guess this is just if you've got him, you hold him through to his. I was even looking potentially at moving him this week, depending on what he got. You're not moving him now. Going to go up a fair bit in price, so you're definitely keeping him. But the guy that you love to hate and hate to love at the same time, Nick Dacos, 129. I asked him on the watch long, I need you to do your best Nick impression, and that being a Nick Martin impression, and go massive. And 59-point last quarter with 17 touches, 129. Finally, I believe is that the first ton you've got from him, DC, or did you get him for?
No, I got him for his 120. So second one in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I was hoping he was going to be averaging. Yeah, I was hoping he was going to be averaging 120, but yeah, I mean, he was frustrating for patches of that game, and then, as you said, finished really strong. But certainly in that last quarter, just absolutely dominated. Like, was clearly the best player on the ground. And we know when he avoids the tags like he did in this game, he's probably going to hit 110 plus more often than not. And got there with the rush late. So yeah, I think he's probably an option if you don't have him now, just because he's dropped a bit in price again. But yeah, have to go through and double check his run a bit closer.
He's got his good
yeah,
old friend Hawthorn. So I wonder if they do a bit of Finn McGuinness. He hasn't tagged much this year, but I wonder if they do it for this one.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, they might try and send someone like Connor Nash to him just in the stoppages, maybe as well. Melbourne the week after, he might cop an Oliver or something, give him a bit of attention, but they're probably not going to be super hard tags. I'd be surprised if Hawthorn threw McGuinness suddenly in the midfield just the one-off game, but who knows?
Yeah, exactly. It could even be half forward tag, like a bit like what James Jordan does in a way. But yeah, definitely something to watch. But his run post his bye is really, really good. So if you don't have him, you're going to want him after his bye. So yeah, but he's got Hawthorn and Melbourne. So a couple of Melbourne's all right. Depends if Viney's back by then. Does he go to him there? And obviously Hawthorn we know can tag every now and again. So we'll see what happens there. Riley Hardiman. Now, I'm kicking myself that I didn't bring him in. I went for Matt Carroll instead. That's turned out fantastic. But 106, he's going to be mid 400K. Sort of, he's got the buy this week. Is he too expensive? Like, is a bit. We talked about obviously McAuliffe and even O'Halloran. He's got a good role there though. He seems to be one of those main guys coming out the back there. We know North players back there can go really well. Is he of any interest for you post his buy when he comes back?
He's more interested in the other couple, I think. But yeah, it's probably 100K more than what you'd want to pay. And yeah, likewise, I'm a bit annoyed I missed him because I did like the look of him. But I think he put up a 40 the week prior. So there's obviously a bit of fluctuation there. I think the key thing is if they're going to keep Sheasel at half forward, then Hardiman is going to score pretty well because he seems to basically be playing the same role that Sheasel was playing, basically playing on the opposite flank to which Caleb Daniel's playing on. So if he's going to play that role, he's probably going to average 70 plus, I'd say. It's just who knows what Clark is going to do with Sheasel. He's going to be midfield 1 week, forward next, back the week after. It's probably safer moves to do, and the obvious move this week is going down to Clark, who's going to be about 200K cheaper. So I wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to get him, but could be an option still.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Harry Sheasel. So 81 points. So he was obviously played forward, no kick-ins, only 2 CBAs. So it was just a forward role. I think we've got bigger issues to trade, right? Or is this a play like last year? I did this obviously to Luke Ryan and cashed a bit. He's expensive. He's got the buy, but he's got West Coast post his buy. That they got beaten pretty badly. Again, this was like the North performances. That's a really good month, and then before that they were quite poor, and then they put Sheasel back, and I thought, here we go, they're playing well, and Sheasel's playing back, but probably thanks to Kane Corns in big part, they've probably moved him back forward. Is this a conversation of trading, or is it just he's still going well, he's still putting out okay scores, but just holding, and you sort of can assess that once you've got a completed team post buys?
I think it could be a conversation, I think last year when he moved from half back, he had a fair bit more midfield time. This game, I think he had 3 CBAs, maybe 2, and they were in the last quarter. So the game was dead. He was well out of the rotation, and it was pretty much a pure half forward role. So if that's the role he's going to be playing, it's going to be really hard for him to score, I'd say over 90, really, playing in that role. In a team that's struggling. So if that's the case, he's going to drop a lot of cash. He's not going to be a top 6 defender, but it just all hinges on whether they keep him in that role, because we know that if he flicks back to half back, he's probably the number 1 defender. So it's just a really wide range of outcome. It could really be a risk reward play though, because there's about 80% of the top 1,000 teams I think have him now, because of that role switch. And obviously most people up there are pretty clued on. They saw that and thought, well, this is the time to get him. Now it's switched back. It will be interesting to see who decides to jump back off. Because if he keeps dropping 80s, there's a fair leg up you can get there when 80% of the teams around you have him. So risk reward, I'll definitely be considering it this week. But yeah, the safe play is to hold him.
Yeah, it is very, very interesting. I sort of I'm thinking that because North played so bad, they can't afford to be leaving him half forward. Like, I think he'll be a really good half forward player when North are actually a consistent team. But when they're so young back there and they're very inconsistent, I think you've just got to have a guy back there. So West Coast after bye is probably what tips me to hold, because even in this road might stay. But I definitely can see teams in a good spot that they can make that move, because a lot of people did it last year, and as you say, had more of a midfield role. But surely that North don't keep that. 2 CBAs forward the whole game. He had no impact on the game. I think he went down at halfback and probably got about 20 points in the space of a couple of minutes in the second quarter, I think it was. So, and even last week, he scored a 103. That was against Richmond, and he only had 10 tackles is what really saved him to that score. So, yeah, I think it's a definite.
The other thing to consider is like the guys that are playing halfback. So we just spoke about Hardeman, played really well. Daniel had a better game. Zach Fisher was the sub, and we know plays off halfback as well. So it's like, who's he going to push out to play that role? Because if they want to keep those other 3 guys in the team, they've really got to play off halfback. So I guess maybe Clarko's thinking is he's looking at the team and thinking, well, we lack class coming inside 50. So that's where he wants to stick him. But we're looking at it from a fantasy perspective, thinking, well, why aren't you playing him off halfback? Because that's where he plays his best footy. But it might be the best thing for the team to still have him off half forward. I'm not convinced it is, but that's probably what he's thinking.
Yeah. Yep, certainly something to watch. But yeah, as you mentioned, Cave Daniel had a better game, 94. There were a fair few turnovers in that as well, and just some of those up and unders. So I don't think North are going to drop him, because if they would have done, they probably would have done already. So I guess we'll have to see what happens there. But a few other good scores here. So Tom Powell, 106. Would have been good to have had a few of those. DC for you a little bit early in the year there, and he was pretty good. Josh Dacos, 101 as well. Was good, had a good last quarter there to get to that score. Big X, 86, had a low score there. No, not a lot of tackles. So, yeah, just a poor one from him, but he's got a very nice run post his bye, so you're definitely not moving off of him. Finn O'Sullivan, I thought at one stage he was going to finally break 60 and finally score over 60, but quite last quarter again. But showed some better signs. Showed some signs of actually leading for the ball. If you've got him, I think he could arguably be a bit of a hold through the buys as just a heartbeat for maybe 10, 20K worth of cash gen, probably. Will Hayes, you mentioned their DC, 52 points. I think he scored that in 3 quarters, because the first quarter, I think he had a 0. So pretty solid there. Obviously, a few pies to come back in, so that would be a watch. But if he's there, he's an option as a mid-forward, because that could be really, really handy there. McKercher scored a 40. The role still doesn't look too great, so I wouldn't be jumping on him. Moving over to the Freo and Port Adelaide game. Freo, 49-point winners here. Ollie Wines, back-to-back tons, another 111. No marks there, obviously, with the conditions, but he could be a sneaky option post the bye, but he's still at a bit of a weird, awkward price there. Luke Jackson, 106. Obviously, shout out to Jordy, who went there this week. He was very good, and I know a lot of people are talking that and saying that they should keep him as the solo ruck. So that's going to be really interesting. I think he'll be solo again this week. I don't see a reason for Freo to bring Darcy back for a week and then a bye. So they'll probably give him a couple weeks off. But it'll be interesting to see what he does post that bye. So if you've got Jackson, hopefully he can remain the solo ruck. Connor Rosey, 105, and a few people put it in the chat as well, but the new defender. So obviously got defender status, so he will be a automatic top 6 defender for us, probably a top 3 based on what he's done in this role. Caleb Sarong, 97, showed some better signs in this game. Brayshaw, 88 as well, copped a little bit of attention. Miles Berman, DC, 88, played mid, defence and forward. I saw him forward a couple of times there as well. Is the role just too volatile to take that risk, even post the bye? Or is it, maybe if they get a couple of guys back, you might be able to take that punt?
Yeah, I've got him. I got him last week. It's frustrating because when he's in the midfield, he's scoring really well. Like if he stayed midfield the whole game of the 2 games the last 2 weeks, I think he would have gone 3 tons in a row, to be honest. But with just the injuries and Port missing a lot of key players, he's getting thrown around a bit. He's another one that I'll have to consider whether I want to hold him this week. I don't think I'd jump onto him now. It's probably more a question of if you've got him, do you hold or do you trade him at the bye?
Yep, I like it. Zach Butters, 85. So he's down at 966K, 145 break even still. Don't bring him in round 13. He's got Giants. Bedford will go to him, I would imagine. But round 14, I think he'll be probably the most popular in, because he's going to be pretty close to 900K, which is ridiculous for Zach Butters, just with a couple of tag games there. So he's a prime target in a couple of weeks post his bye. So definitely keep him on your watch list. Christian Rye, 67, got there in a decent score. So he's kickstarted a little bit of cash gen for those who've still got him. He could be a potential hold, even though he's on the bye this week. Shea Bolton, 67. I'm not too pleased with bringing him in this week. I brought him in along with Nick Martin. So I'm still happy. Obviously got Nick Martin at the same time, but he saved that for sure. He was on 33 points at 3/4 time, and it was looking bad. And he somehow saved it, kicked a goal late. I'll obviously hold this week and reassess at the bye. I knew it was risky, but I guess we'll see what happens there. But conditions were pretty poor. Port Adelaide, tough matchup. So 67 isn't disastrous by any means. Anyone else from this game here scrolling down? No, Hugh Jackson got a 26, unfortunately. He was the sub as well there. But yeah, obviously the other big unfortunate news from this game, Cooper Simpson, shoulder injury, not even probably 5 minutes into the game, went down. I don't know if you saw this, DC, because I didn't see this. People were asking in the chat what was the update on him. Was it dislocated shoulder, AC joint? Do you know,
AC joint, I think. Yeah, AC joint sprain.
Yep. So because I know you know a lot about the injury and stuff. Any idea, sort of rough sort of time frame, what that injury normally is?
It'll depend on the severity. It sounds as though it was a pretty severe one. So it's a trade regardless. He's going to be out for weeks. It's not going to be something you'll play with next week.
Yep. Yeah, it just sucks. Yeah, he was looking like another one. And again, these injuries for rookies, subs for rookies, just killing all this cash gen for us, which is really, really unfortunate. Moving over to the final three games around on the Sunday. But as always, just thought we'd mention, obviously, our good friends at Game Day Squad is our major sponsor for 2025. Obviously, another AFL fantasy platform. Good fun. I always enjoy playing it there. And I'm sure you guys will as well. And if you guys haven't signed up yet, head over to gamedaysquad.com.au and use the code BAILSDT at sign up, and you get yourself 3 of the common 9-player packs, which is valued up to $21. So you get that for absolutely free just by using the code at sign up. And it is good fun because you might be like myself, struggling at AFL fantasy, and you don't have enough trades to fix your rabble of a team. Game Day Squad, you can sort of reset your lineup week to week, and the cash prizes weekly is sort of where it's at. So if you guys want to register and join in the fun, then head over to gamedaysquad.com.au and use the code BAILSDT at sign up. Moving over to the Adelaide and West Coast game, with the Crows getting the job done by 66 points. But safe to say, I was pretty nervous at halftime with the way the game's going. Eagles were playing some pretty good footy. But DC, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about my boy for a bit longer. And he's the 1B, because Roy Laird's 1A. 1B, Jordan Dawson, 139, 2 goals, 3. He just stuffs the stat sheet. 27 touches, 6 marks, 9 tackles. He's got a tough run coming up, but people might, with 3 trades, if they don't have him, look at targeting him. He's so expensive, but he's just showing an ability to, I guess, pump out these scores week after week. Where do you sit with him, and what have you made of his season state?
Yeah, he's been unbelievable. I think he's probably been in the top, probably three to 5 players in the comp, if not the top player. Would I bring him in? I think probably not. I guess similar answer to some of those other sort of guys that have had outstanding seasons, have been great picks. If you're looking to climb the rankings, most of the teams above you've already got them. So I'd be probably punting against him still for the moment until you've got your team fully completed. Then maybe you can really look at those luxury moves. But yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to be priced at about 115 or something. It's a lot of money to pay. And then if you bring him in, if he drops at an 80, then all of a sudden you're missing that potential leg up you're going to get that week. So I'd still be hunting around that sort of 105 mark and lower if you can, get in premium mids in that range. And there's a few floating around as well.
Yeah, I think I agree, particularly with the tough run. They've got Sydney this week, and we know that Sydney, every time they play the Crows, put attention into him. I wonder if it's just a bit of like, you used to play for us, so we're not going to let you have a good game against us. So I'm sure a Rowbottom or a Jordan or someone will go to him there. And then they got Brisbane, then Hawthorn. But I think you need him in round 16. They've got Richmond, so that could be an absolute monster there. Then they go Melbourne, Bulldogs, Gold Coast. So pretty nice month post-bye. So yeah, mate, probably look at targeting him maybe after his bye. But he's just been absolutely incredible. Riley O'Brien, one of your favourites, DC, I'm sure. 128 was very, very good there. Sam Berry, Jordox will be happy. That's his boy. 123 was very good there. Roy Laird, 110. DC is potentially Lairdy an option. He's, I think, 900k, or do you think he's just that sort of little bit similar to like a Josh Dacos or those guys that average 90 to 95 and sort of just, you might get what you pay for?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he's going to be top 6, maybe not even top 10 defender. So I'd probably be looking at other options personally.
Yeah, it hurts me to say, but I think I have to agree with that one. Isaac Rankin, 89, had a quiet game. Had some poor kicks again. It's a couple of weeks he's had some really poor kicks in the game, but still going along very nicely there. James Peatling, 84 as well. He was pretty solid. DC, pretty sure you've got Peatling as well, don't you?
Yeah, brought him and Bergman in last week, and neither of them at the moment have been great trades. Even though the roles are good enough, they just haven't quite scored how I would like. And Peatling needed a couple of goals to get there. The mid role is only half there. He's still spending a fair bit of time forward. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think he's probably going to be moving at my buy, or at his buy, I should say. So, yeah, wouldn't be targeting him.
Yeah, I do actually have a thing though. So I don't own Peatling. I don't think he should be taken. For those people that got him, I actually think next 3 weeks is actually going to be suited for him. I think these 3 games going to be really tightly contested games. I would imagine Sydney, Brisbane, Hawthorn do play that contested style of footy. I actually think Peatling could have some decent scores here, but that low time on ground is capping him at the moment. 71% again today. He had 65% last week, which is a shame, because I think he could actually be a really good scorer if he had a good game time and had a sort of a prominent midfield role there. Ryan Marrick, 51 DC. Obviously, he's got his buy in round 15, I believe it is. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Is he just a hold till his buy, just because this is his first score below 70 pretty much all year? Like, he had the 30 when he was sub, right? But remove that. This is his first score below 70 for the year. Is he just a hold till his round 15 buy?
Probably. Yeah. Although if he drops another one of those, you might want to think about jumping off him before he drops too much cash. But just had a pretty dirty day. The game didn't really suit him. He was also off the ground a huge amount when Adelaide kicked behind, so he missed out on a lot of the kick-ins. I reckon he what did he have kicking wise? I can't see the stats there, but I reckon he must have only had half the kick-ins, if that, today. And
so Duggan had 7, Marrick had 5, and then you had Jinby and Cole had 1 each. So as you say, was off for a lot of the kick-ins.
Yeah, so he just got a bit unlucky, I think, with that. I think on another day he probably gets another 4 or 5 kick-ins, and maybe he still gets to his 70. But yeah, the Eagles are sort of just bombing it long as soon as they get it across halfback at the moment. Quite a bit, so he's not getting those cheap +6s the way you would like from that sort of halfback guy. So yeah, you could move him. But your team would want to have to be in a great spot, I think, for that to be a priority.
Yeah. Moving to the Melbourne and Sydney game. Melbourne getting the job done by 53 points. Just quietly, Melbourne, 5 of their last 6 they've won. So they're certainly turned their season around. And a few players that have turned their season around. We'll get to one very shortly. But Matt Scorn has been fantastic all year. And if you didn't jump on him, like myself, I think DC, you said you don't have him as well. Is that right?
No.
Yes, he's been an absolute killer for non-owners, but been a very, very good pick for owners. So I think a few people are thinking, do I go down to Gawn to Marshall at his buy? But the way this is going, you're going to be wanting to hold on him for a long time. Christian Salem loves a sort of when Melbourne are winning well. He really gets involved in that piggerish stuff at the back with those +6s. 139, massive score there. Brody Grundy as well, 134. So massive scoring fantasy game with some of these ceiling scores. But Clayton Oliver, 130. Like, I held when he was out for that week, dropped to 40, and I thought, no, I have to trade. And he goes in, I think, 84, looks pretty good bar the last quarter, and then pumps out a 130. So he looked like prime Oliver again, 31 touches, 12 tackles and a goal. If you've got him, great. DC, we're not bringing him back in, are we? Or
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, very frustrating. Cosy Pickett, 126, 5 goals, 4 as well. That could have been an absolute monster, even though 126 is already big. Langdon went 121 as well. Chad Warner, 112. Now, DC, I don't know about you, but he's one of the guys I'm actually looking at bringing in this week because he's, I think, the only premium forward that's got the round 14 buy. So I think he's going to fit into a lot of teams, and he's got Adelaide and then Richmond. Is he someone that, don't know if you own him, but is he someone that if you don't own him, you'd be targeting?
Yeah, possibly. I don't own him. I'm probably more, coolish on him just because of what we've seen from him in the past. He's been a low to mid 90s guy. He's not priced that much cheaper than that, particularly with this score now. He's going to go up a little bit in price. So I think you're probably paying what you're going to get, but he's going to be close to a top 6 forward, particularly with guys like McRae and JHF going down. Even someone like a Rankin's probably had a bit of a quieter last month. So, yeah, maybe you could jump on a Warner, but he's not huge value by any means.
Yeah, agreed. You probably get what you pay for, but yeah, I'm looking. Just does fit a bit into my price structure. Something I'll be keeping an eye on. Isaac Heaney 106. He's still pretty cheap. So he's another option you could consider if you didn't go there. Chris Petrarca 104. Definitely looked really good today. That burst was again him and this looked like the prime Melbourne that we saw a few years ago. Like the Gawn dominating, Oliver and Petrarca going really well. So. Yeah, hopefully they continue that. But Petrarca is quite expensive if you don't own. So I don't know if I'd be targeting him, but very good score if you've got him there. Matt Roberts, 94, solid score from him there. Just quickly, DC, with Roberts on his buy, is he a guy that we're still holding, or is he someone that good spot you could move on his buy?
Yeah, I think if your team's in a good spot, I think you can move him. I think we've seen enough to suggest that he's probably not even going to be a top 10 defender. So, yeah, I think he can go. I think we've had one ton from him since opening round. So that's not really top 6 numbers, top 10 numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. I'll probably have to hold, but yeah, if you're in a good spot, he's a guy you could potentially look at moving at round 14. You definitely don't do it beforehand there. Angus Sheldrick, 86. DC, is this, again, another one of these guys about the 400 odd K mark? Is he more interesting than some of these other guys, just with the fact that we've seen spurts and he's got obviously the pedigree?
I probably prefer him slightly over McAuliffe, but we've seen he's still been fringe this year as well. So yeah, again, probably a no. I still think Hardiman's probably the one I'd rather over the others.
Yeah, so he still had 71% game time, and he had a pretty good last quarter when Sydney did sort of throw a few things around, and he played a lot of mid-time that last quarter. So yeah, that was a good score. You could look at it, but yeah, probably, I don't know. I think there are the guys that are probably cheaper. I'll probably agree with you, DC, there. Xavier Lindsay, 79. Bounced back with a couple of pretty decent scores. If you do have him, like myself, a little bit of cash gen there. I think he's a hold until his buy there, because he is one of those rookies that can pop one of those decent scores. And Bias is probably similar with a 70 there. They've got a couple of matchups. So, DC, yeah, just probably on these guys. And I wonder if you can put Caden Cleary sort of in this basket. He only had a 51 again, but 3 behinds. But these rookies that aren't red dots because they're all building up, are you holding like a Bice and a Lindsay if you've got them now because we've hit the buys, and trading them at their buy because they can pop a big score?
Yeah, pretty much. Unless there's someone like a trainer who's just dropped a really low one and they're going to start dropping cash, then I think you can trade them and try and get off them and cash in as much as you can. But yeah, while they're either stagnated, they're giving you 60s, 70s most weeks, or they're still going up a bit in cash, I think you can hold them until they buy at least. Even in the case of guys like Moraes this week, who I think his break-even is probably going to be in the 30s maybe after a couple of 60s in the row. I think you can hold him for maybe a couple more weeks if you've got other issues, particularly with guys like Reed getting injured this week. There's going to be some high priorities for people.
Yeah, agreed. Callum Mills obviously made his return with a 62, but I think it's going to be pretty short-lived because I think he will be suspended, unfortunately. Jumped off the ground and hit Spargo high. I don't know how much exact head contact was there. I think a lot of it went to the shoulder, but still they sort of, apparently they said something about DC. The Arc called him off. They looked on it and they said that he had to go off. So a bit of a shift there made with head height and stuff. But I think Mills will be out for maybe a week, couple of weeks. So we'll see. But what did you make of his game today in terms of 6-2? He had 5 CBAs, he had a couple of kick-ins, he played pretty much everywhere again. Did you see enough to look at him maybe if he doesn't get suspended to bring him in, or not really?
No, not really. I think we need to see more than that. 62's not going to cut it. It probably would have been amongst the lower scores on field this week if you'd brought him in this week. So the role didn't seem to be quite what we wanted. He's clearly still building back into it, and as you said, likely I would say to miss at least a week or two with that bump. So Yeah, one I think we've got to wait a little while. It's similar to Philippou as well, who I guess we can talk about in a minute. But these guys that we've had eyes on for probably the last, really since the season started, as options to bring in when they came back. 10 weeks is a long time to miss. So they're going to take a little while to get back up and running, even though we know they are good fantasy scorers in the right role.
Moving over to the last game, and that was the Saints and Gold Coast, with Gold Coast getting the job done by 19 points. And I need to ask you this, DC, when are you bringing your boy Nasiri? 134, another good score. He's obviously one of your favourites. We did the head-to-head in the preseason. When are you getting him in?
I probably need to at some point, maybe after his bye. But I actually could have got him this week. I ended up getting Sinclair instead, but he's been a fantastic starting pick. Pretty much done exactly what I thought he was going to do, but for some reason I didn't have him in my team. So that's the way it goes. Sometimes we overthink these things.
He's such a good watch. I pray to the football gods. Crows, give him whatever you need. Give him the keys to the city. Just bring him over. Just get him over the Crows. But he's dominating, 134, career high 36 touches as well. Kicked a really good goal from outside 50. So probably not getting him before his bye. He's got round 13 bye, but again, he's a target post his third at round 13 bye. Jack Steele, just getting it done. 126, had a lot more of the ball and didn't actually need the tackles to get it done. Only had the 5 tackles. Is he someone, DC, that you'll be looking at maybe even as early as this week if it fits your bye structure?
Yeah, I looked at him this week actually, was probably in my top 5 options. That's a better performance from him. 32 disposals. What's been worrying me is his reliance on tackles, but I guess that's probably his highest disposal count of the season, maybe if not in the top couple. So that's good signs. I think if he's able to do that regularly, he's probably going to average that 105 to 110, which we know he's been for quite a few years over the last 5 years. So, it could be an option.
Yeah, so that was only his second game over 25 disposals. And the other one came against Brisbane when he had 22 handballs and scored a 91. So good to see. Do you think, does that have a bit to do with McRae being out, do you reckon?
Probably won't have hurt, I would have thought, yeah.
Yeah. Well, another midfielder, obviously Jack Sinclair, 119. I still think he's a good option. If you still don't have him, I still think he's a top 6. Great option. Obviously, DC jumped on. He's a very good he's someone I'm definitely looking at this week. But Noah Anderson's one of these other cheaper mids that we've been looking at. So 118, had a really good last quarter to get that really good score. And I know Jordy's very happy with that. But 963K, and that's now back-to-back good scores. It's got Freo Geelong, so is that maybe Wagner, Mullen? Do they do some sort of job on him? Then he's got the bye, then Bedford, but he is at a cheap price. Is he someone that you're looking at?
Again, looked at him this week. I was kind of shopping in that sort of low to midnight 100 range this week, and he was one of those guys. Probably a little bit of a flag with those couple of tags. We know that he probably is still the main target. We know Rao's very good, but in a different way. So yes, I think he's still underpriced. He'll score more than what he's priced at, or average more than what he's priced at for the rest of the season. But maybe you wait until he gets through these couple of potential tag games first.
Yeah, he's someone that I've got definitely on the shopping list. But yeah, the tags may scare me away potentially this week. Ryan Marshall, 77. Disappointing, particularly when we mean DC are owners of Marshall, when Gawn gets 63 points more than him, it does hurt. And we knew it was a tough matchup, right? Witts is a very, very hard ruckman, but had a good last quarter. Would have been good if he did that a little bit more, but if you've got him, it's fine. Hopefully he can go okay against Gawn. It's a tough matchup again. But I think, did you sort of, even though it's a tough matchup, DC, did you sort of still see that he was still moving sort of pretty well?
Yeah, he spent a bit of time on the bench in the first quarter and gave away a few free kicks, which never helps, but that tends to happen with ruckman when they're probably a bit outsized. So, gave away the 3 frees against. For the game, it's probably 15 under what I was hoping as a pass mark. I think with that sort of matchup, if you get a 90 out of a ruck like that going up against Witts, you're probably happy enough. But it just hurt this week, didn't it, when Gawn's the other highly owned ruckman, and he he goes 140. So I think if Gawn goes 105, 110, not a big issue. It was this week though, so he'll bounce back. We saw he went 150 the week before. You've got to hold him. I still think he's going to be a top 3 ruck. But yeah, just a bit of a frustrating one with a tough matchup.
Yep, agreed. Yeah. It's funny, weeks long time fantasy, as they say, and everyone that had Cherry and Marshall last week were cheering. But if you've got the combo this week, it's certainly not looking as good as what it did last week. But they'll both bounce back, I'm sure. Marshall still had 90% TOG, which was interesting. I think, did he play? Yeah, 95% in the last quarter. So, yeah, had a lot, but as you say, got stuck on the bench in that first quarter. Flanders 75, still dropping a heap in cash, but still need to see something before we jump on the roll. Is just awful. Toby Travalia 72, had some good moments, but then had a really bad moment where he turned over when Saints have made a bit of a charge. So we know Ross can throw these guys in and out, but his price, I just want to get it up. He's $3.99. Is that a little bit expensive, DC, particularly with the Angus Clark there?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd rather either go down to Clark, or I think I'd still probably rather Hardiman over him as well.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with that for sure. Filippo 71, didn't play any CBAs, but did play some spurts around the ball, but probably want to see a little bit more. He might be a target post buy, but yeah, maybe just doesn't get to the fitness level to be that mid that we would need him to be a good pick. So we definitely need to see something before jumping on. And the final play I guess we'll touch on was Hugh Boxall. Connell got a 39 as well there as a rookie that a few people got. But Hugh Boxall, 35, he was the sub today. I don't know about you, DC. I thought he was really good when he came on. I thought he gave St Kilda a lot in there and had a couple of really good. I think he set up a couple of goals with some really good handballs. And there was that one on the wing where he beat like 2 or 3 Gold Coast players and really got it down. I think he could be back in the 22 next week, considering again St Kilda, a few performers there that I think are subpar, to be kind. That guys have just sort of been floating around there. Do you think there's a chance we can maybe see the box in the 22 next week?
I hope so. Yeah, that would be nice. Max Hall, very quiet game. Darcy Wilson subbed out, very quiet game. So, yeah, I would hope he's going to be around the mark, and he certainly wouldn't have done his chances any harm.
Yeah. So fingers crossed, because it'd be really, really helpful, particularly with some rookies going down with the buys hitting this week. Final couple of things we'll do. So on to a super chat here from Chris. So appreciate the super chat, mate. He's asked, I held JHF this week. Am I best to hold for the buys or trade and use his cash to upgrade to, for example, he'd go JHF to Clark, Reed, and Daniel to Holmes and Anderson. So if we touch on Daniel, D6, we probably skimmed over a little bit in that game with the 94. Firstly, is he a trade for if you've got him? And then second, what are your thoughts on Chris's moves there?
Yeah, I traded Caleb a couple of weeks ago for Sheagle, funnily enough, which doesn't look a great trade now. Yes, I think Daniel can probably go. I think JHF should go. You should definitely trade him this week. I don't see a lot of point in holding him. I'm assuming you had to hold him last week because you had other injuries. So he would have had the bye anyway. We know he's going to be out for a few more weeks. I'd still be surprised if he comes back around 13. And then even outside of that, wasn't really tearing up trees or anything. So he should go. JHF, what have we got? JHF to Clark, Reed to Daniel.
Oh, no, Reed and Daniel to Holmes.
Oh, Reed and Daniel. Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah, do that.
Yep. I like those moves.
Anderson maybe with the tags, the only flag.
Yeah. I think the thing reason I'd also trade Horn France is even if he comes back next post his bye, he's going to be playing forward a lot. I can't see him playing straight in the midfield first game back. So I'd be trading for sure. And then I guess the thing we'll touch on DC, because there's a lot of questions here, but obviously we've just gone over the hour, so we'll wrap up now just because we'll do our Q&A on Tuesday, so we'll get all your questions answered on Tuesday. Apologies, guys. Plenty to chat through, but final thoughts, DC, just with the buys coming up, obviously, this week. We've obviously got a plan for those. Is there anything sort of you're doing this week with your trades, maybe to set you up to the buys, or what you're potentially looking at doing? And you maybe can even go through what you're potentially looking at with your trades.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I haven't had too much of a chance to look at it in any detail, but Reed will have to go, unfortunately. He's been a great pick. Trainer, I think, just looking there, he's dropped 26K. So he's going to have to go, and I'll cash that in, break even 85 now. And then, as I said, I think Sheasel is a consideration as to whether you jump off him or not. I've also got Bergman. And then outside of that, my bench is reasonably healthy. Connor Stone's probably the only sort of major red dot I've got. So if he's not named, he might go as well. So I've got a few options there depending on how adventurous I want to be and how much of a risk I want to take. But sitting just outside the 1,000, I'm not going to make up a lot of ground, I don't think, unless I start taking a few calculated risks. So maybe it is the Sheasel one. Maybe it is.
Yeah. Yep. In terms of what I'm potentially looking at doing, not really sure. Obviously, we're in a tough spot. I'm looking forward to these bye weeks because if I'm actually going to make up any sort of ground, I'm hopeful that this is going to be the time of the year that I can do that. Trainer will definitely go. He's definitely gone. I think Matt Carroll down to Angus Clark for me makes a lot of sense because I don't think Clark Carroll's going to be there after the bye with some of those guys that come back for Carlton. So he'll go down to Clark. Maybe Trainer goes up and maybe I do another rookie switch, or does Sheasel maybe go down to someone at 900K, maybe a Warner there. So a couple of potential moves there that I'll look at. In terms of DPPs, I'm just looking through here. I believe that the only real relevant one is Connor Rozee. I don't think any other DPPs, DC. I don't know if you can see the list because I'm trying to find the list right now, but I don't think there's any other ones outside of Rozee.
I haven't seen the list yet, but I'd guess he's probably the most relevant for sure.
Yeah. So I can't find the list here. I'm sure that the list will float around on the AFL app at some point and go pretty. And you can go through and see which guys have got DPP for us. But Rozee, obviously the big one, which is really, really helpful. So that'll do us for tonight. As I said, apologies we couldn't do any of your more of your questions tonight. But as I said, we're doing answering a heap of your questions on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Perth time. So head over there. And if you do want to guarantee an answer your question, head over to Patreon, our Patreon, patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. And you can get all your questions answered guaranteed there. I'll respond to all the questions in there as well, along with the Q&As on the Wednesdays for the patrons there, and you get a team review. Being a Patreon member through the Ask Me on Q search, which Patreon members get that for free. So if you'd like to become Patreon, the link is in the description of the video and the podcast. But DC, thank you very much for jumping on with me, mate. Obviously with a few of the other guys busy, it's good to chat fantasy always with you. So where can the people find you across the socials? And a lot of people already do, but if they haven't already, if you're living under a rock, come out of the rock. Where can they find the HatChat podcast?
No, thanks, mate. Always nice to come on. You can find me at DC Caterpillars, and you can find HatChat at HatChat AFL and on all the major streaming platforms.
Yeah, no, make sure I'm sure a lot of you do, as I said, but if you guys haven't yet, make sure you do. One of my certainly locked in podcasts for sure every week. Always enjoy listening to the HatChat boys, and especially you, DC. So looking forward to listening to that again this week. But you can find me at BAILSDT, and you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans across the socials. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash a like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're very, very close to 4,000. So I think we're just over 100 away now. So if you haven't done that yet, please do. And if you're listening back to the podcast, can leave us a 5-star rating and review. That'd be very much appreciated. The likes, subscribes, and reviews, and that's just a small way you can help support us at the AFL Fantasy Fanatics. So that would be very much appreciated. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and we'll catch you guys on Tuesday for our Q&A. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night. See ya.